too.
Wibwobbers, Robbett here. Recently, the good folks at Springdale Data Sciences and I were discussing a video that Howard, currently leader of Score Attack, shared with us when the Filthy Goat remarked that Howard's link-up speed, the time it takes for several small Wibwobs to join into a bigger Wibwob, was quite a bit faster than what he experiences himself. At the same time, I was having a conversation with Lunix, also near the top of Score Attack this week, about the same topic. While it seemed like time was constant in the game, link-up speed seemed slower on one of his devices than the other. He asked if I could look into it and, if true, get the word out about this for the community. I decided to dedicate a few hours and research this topic in order to see if you can gain an edge in the game based on what hardware you use. Let's step back for a second and discuss the nature of creating a game like Wibble Wobble. Wibble Wobble is a fantastic and free game that Level 5 and NHN have created. There's so much richness in the game, vivid colors, sharp graphics, great music. If you've got a device that's not top of the line brand new, you might notice it get choppy here and there, and that's really what starts this investigation. In any competitive game where time matters, the developers use systems to shed frames displayed in the game to keep up with the device's hardware. This means that they throw away some of what should be on the screen to smooth out the motion in order to keep things running at the pace they set. They have to do this, otherwise Fever Time and Score Attack would vary by player and it would be unfair. Is it possible, however, that one aspect of the game fails to work in this way? In order to check it out, I took 3 devices, an Android Nexus 6P, an iPhone 6S, and a Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. These devices are all relatively high-powered, but they also have very high screen resolutions, making the game work harder to draw the graphics. An additional benefit to the Galaxy Tab is that Samsung created a game tuner app that allows me to change the resolution and frame rate in order to make the game theoretically work better. I recorded the same action in the game in the same account across all 3 devices, and additionally on the tablet in low resolution and frame rate. The first thing that's worth noting is that the time it takes from pressing the play button to when Wibwobs are on the screen varies by each device. This depends on how fast the processor is loading in-game elements, how fast the storage is accessing the game, and how fast both the network hardware and the network you're currently on are. In my case, same network, same conditions, but different hardware. It turns out that the Nexus 6P was almost twice as fast as the Galaxy Tab to load, with the iPhone 6S in the middle. This doesn't change the fairness of the game, but it does mean that you'll spend less time waiting on the game and more time playing with better equipment. Next, I looked at the speed of link-up for a size 13 Wibwob. I measure from the point I let go of the linked Wibwobs to the point where the new big Wibwob starts to wibble. That's when you can first use it for popping or additional links. Interesting. The iPhone is fastest, then 1/5 of a second later comes the Nexus, then 1/10 of a second later comes the Galaxy Tab. Unlikely to actually make a competitive difference, but still, interesting. Let's try something bigger. I've taken a size 45 Wibwob, that's every size 1 Wibwob you can get on the screen, to make a giant Wibwob. This will take longer, and therefore it will exaggerate any differences. This time I've also thrown in the low-resolution tuned version of the Galaxy Tab to compare. Here, the Galaxy Tab at low resolution is the winner. 1/5 of a second later comes the Nexus, 1/5 of a second later comes the iPhone, and then a full half second since the Galaxy Tab low-res finished comes the standard Galaxy Tab. This is crazy. If true, then there's a definite advantage. But is it true? Let's look at the fever gauge at the same point of each clip. They're identical. So what's happening? I recorded video of Score Attack, and the countdown timer wasn't matching up either. Next, I did the simplest thing I could think of. I recorded the clock on various devices, and that wasn't matching up. Something's seriously wrong here. The answer turns out to be fairly straightforward. We know that given the limitations of the equipment used, the frame rate varies based on how much is going on. When you record game footage on a device, it outputs the video at the frame rate that the game is able to produce. However, when you edit or publish this video, it gets played at a standard rate, usually around 30 frames per second. The result is that the recorded frame rate gets translated to the new frame rate and time gets skewed. That means we have to throw away these initial results. They can't be trusted. I've redone the tests, but this time I've recorded the gameplay externally from the devices themselves at a standard frame rate. That means that no matter what the game does, I'll be in constant time. Let's jump straight to the big wob test. So far, so good, and they're all perfectly identical. Bottom line, there are two reasons why it really seems like you can gain an edge on different hardware, but neither of them actually impact the game's speed. First, the lower frame rate displayed on your device, the choppier it will seem, and it will be harder to focus on quickly linking and popping wibwobs. Second, if you watch a lot of videos, including this excellent video, the process of recording and making the video can impact the game's speed. So before you run out to buy that shiny iPhone 7 Plus to destroy the competition in Score Attack, remember, it will give you a great gameplay experience, but it won't help you win. That's all for now, Wibwobbers. Until my next video, good luck with the crank.